Administrator Sanchez, welcome, and thank you for coming here this afternoon. Kind of a follow-up question that the chairman was getting at as well. Kansas doesn't have a huge hurricane with billions of dollars of damage. Typically, we have lots of small disasters. It's a tornado impacting a town, 2 or 3 different times a year, and then we've had our share of wildfires as well. While the disaster office has been there for each of our events, they're at an incredibly slow pace. For example, fires in Hutchinson, Kansas on March 9th, the SBA Resource Center wasn't set up until April 28th, 7 weeks later. Constituents struggle to wait 7 weeks for that assistance. Why would there be substantial delays? What would you feel is success? How do you measure success? What would be your goal and your response team getting to a disaster?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. I'll address in part what the SBA challenge is and how we tie it to the larger picture. Typically for loan processing it is about 5 days, and then disbursement of first funds loan processing is about 8 days for homeowners, 5 days for the actual disbursement. We come in on the ground after there's been a disaster declaration at the state. We are working with our state partners to educate about how we meet the threshold to try to expedite that process so that we can be on the ground quicker as well.
What about the time to be on the ground from the time the disaster occurs? How do you measure that, and what would you think? Like 7 weeks just seems too long to me.
Yeah, Senator, if that was 7 weeks from the time of the disaster, what we have to wait for to actually open the lending process is for the disaster declaration to be cleared, requested by the state, and then we can be on the ground. We're working with our partners to educate how we can expedite that for our states. But once we get that trigger, we can be on the ground within 48 to 72 hours.
So your goal would be, once the state declares a disaster, is to have presence there in 2 to 3 working days?
Yes, sir. Once that comes to us, we sign it and we're on the ground.
Okay. Again, kind of on the same long line of questionings, for those wildfires, it appears that our staff had to do most of the, I'm going to call it marketing, letting them know what the SBA could and couldn't do, how they could help. What can you do to better improve your communication to those small businesses that you're there to help them? What are the opportunities for improvement there?
I think, as the chairman mentioned, reaching into SCORE and those local district offices to see how we can tailor that for that specific community. And I have a commitment to work with our officials from those states and local officials to see you're where the expertise is on that ground. How do we leverage our knowledge to those local communities? What community should we be in? What does that message need to look like? We want to increase access of those programs. It's an undertold story, so we want to partner with that when we're on the ground with local officials and local expertise to make the most impact.
Okay. Thank you so much. I yield back.